figured we could do one last short one. I mentioned it in the last video, and a lot of you guys, there was a positive response to it. A lot of you guys wanted to see kind of a cost breakdown to kind of, you know, wrap up this whole project and bring it all together. So it's a nice, relatively nice winter day. So far we've had a little bit of a break in the weather and winter in New England here, so the roads are clear. We're supposed to get some snow later, so I wanted to make this video before that happens while the roads are still nice and there's no salt. So yeah, let's go overview the car, then we can start to get into some of the cost figures and kind of wrap this project up. There she is, all done outside, out in her natural environment, the road. This thing came out awesome. So how'd we get here? Where'd we start? You know, we got to take a trip back to, I think it was either late September or early October. So let's recap from the beginning, and then we can kind of summarize and go through cost towards the end. Thing's a riot. So if we go back in time to October of 2022, we remember I woke up early in the morning, hooked up the trailer and drove down to Long Island where this car was located. The previous owner had apparently blown it up a year before he reached out to me, and we were able to strike up a deal. So we pushed it out of his garage, winched it onto the trailer. I paid $15,000 for the car, strapped it down, and brought it home. From there we kind of did an initial inspection. Couldn't see anything wrong just with the valve covers off. So we gave it a quick wash. The car came with a set of Sparco seats and a harness bar. We took those out and installed the stock seats, which the previous owner included. They were in great shape, so we knocked that out right away, even before we pushed the car into the garage. Pretty sure I even found the hole in the block using my borescope there, at which point I realized I needed a full motor for the car. Once the car was inside, started doing some tear down. Pretty quickly found an exhaust valve, if I recall correctly, that was basically completely missing. So that was pretty obviously the source of our exploded, destroyed LS7 here. So with that, we kind of worked on getting the motor out of the car. Once it was out, we were able to tear it down and see all of the destruction that was there. I mean, I've never seen anything explode as fantastically as this LS7 did. You know, cylinder wall was completely blown through to the lifter valley. The head was trashed. The bottom end was, I think the crank was usable and maybe a couple rods, but everything else is still in my basement right now to be used as a decorative coffee table or something. There wasn't much salvageable, so it obviously needed a motor. So I was able to find one on eBay out of another C6 Z06 with the exact same mileage that the red car has, which was like 34 or 35,000 miles. It had also just been sent to a machine shop to be completely refreshed, new bearings, new seals, gaskets, checked out, tolerances, all that stuff. I got receipts for that. Upon further inspection, found that it actually had Lingenfelter heads, which was a great bonus because I was planning on taking the heads off and having them sent out to be reworked. That was one less thing for us to do. The Before installing the motor, we did a couple of preventative maintenance things that you'd be silly not to do while the motor's out. We did a brand new clutch, slave cylinder, throw-out bearing, all that stuff. Also added some speed engineering stainless long tube headers. Nothing beats the sound of a C6 Z06 with a great exhaust on it, so this was an absolute must-do mod for me. Once that was done, we worked on stuffing the motor back into the car. I've done this a few times on this chassis, so no real problems there. With the motor in, I was able to clean up some of the accessories, get all them bolted back on, get our brand new intake manifold back on that we had to buy since the other one was full of metal. Finished installing the Speed Engineering X-pipe, which didn't fit well at all, so thankfully I had my saw and my TIG welder, was able to get that sorted out, got the rest of the exhaust on, topped off the fluids, checked the tune and computer real quick, and with that, we gave this thing its first start with its new motor in over a year. With a couple heat cycles in the car, I felt confident putting the rest of the car back together. As far as the body panels and suspension that we had to take off in order to get the motor out, so we got to work assembling all that stuff. Once it was all back together, it was time to pull it outside and take it for its first drive, get some break-in miles on the clutch. Everything went perfect, car sounded awesome, ran awesome. Everything went really well. Did a few trips in the car, drove it around as much as I could, got a bunch of break-in miles on the clutch, and once I was confident in it, I made an appointment with my tuner to get the car in the dyno and have the tune checked out and see what the car put down. Made a few pulls on the dyno, the car ran awesome, sounded absolutely insane, and it put down great power for still stock intake manifold and stock throttle body. I think we ended up at 591 horsepower, 557 foot-pounds of torque on 93 octane fuel. Just a super smooth curve, really good power for the setup, so very happy with that. So with that, with the car running well, we took it out, beat on it a little bit, drove it how a C6 Z06 is supposed to be driven. With that, the car was pretty much 100% mechanically sorted. I decided to start focusing on some of the cosmetics that the car was going to need. First thing being the stock wheels. They were pretty well hammered, chrome peeling, pitting. The tires were rock hard, old Nittos, so basically needed new wheels and tires. Scored a great deal locally on a set of GM Cup wheels, 19s in the rear, 18s in the front, and also some just barely used Michelin Pilot Sports for all four corners. So we cleaned those up, got those tires mounted on the wheels, painted the brake calipers, cleaned all that up while we were at it. Really nice touch, making sure that all the calipers matched, and the red, it really pops behind the black wheels, so that was a huge change in the car. We also wrapped the roof black. Yeah, and just wrapping the roof and the black wheels really transformed the car, so at this point I was really happy with how it looked. Really, the only thing left to do was to tackle the minor body damage that the car had on the rear bumper and the passenger side rear quarter panel. So with that, I disassembled the complete rear of the car, including the rear bumper and the rear quarter panel, took all the components off of there, brought them down to my buddy who does body work. We worked together for an entire day prepping the panels, and while I was away on vacation, they ended up getting them sprayed in for me. They came out absolutely perfect. So once the panels were back from the body shop, I got those reinstalled in the car. Everything fit up absolutely perfect, and at this point the car was basically a perfect car. Got a brand new windshield installed in the car because at some point during my ownership the windshield had cracked. I don't know if it was during the trip home or an acorn or something fell on it while it was stored outside for a little bit, but brand new windshield. So with that, there was just really minor cosmetic work left. Started off by tinning the side and rear marker lights to kind of keep going with the red and black theme, and then moved into a full clay bar of the entire car in preparation for our paint correction. GM clear coats are known for being pretty hard, so cutting compound was necessary. I used Menzerna cutting compound on a wool pad to really kind of bite down into the clear and reduce and remove almost all of our defects. Once that was done, came back with a lighter polishing pad and polishing compound. Once that was completed, we then sealed the whole car using black bar wet diamond. In between, while I was waiting for some of the sealants to cure up, I actually also ended up swapping out the headlight lenses after a failed attempt at trying to bring those back. They had some UV layers that had peeled off, so I ended up just completely replacing those with brand new headlight lenses. Installed our gloss black Z06 badges. After that was buffed off, the car was done. Looked insane. The red was just so deep. The black roof really set it off. The black wheels, red calipers, all the little black and red accents that we did. The car just looked absolutely awesome. And that brings us to where we are today. So, you've seen the recap. You know what was involved in rebuilding this car. What did it cost? So I like to keep a spreadsheet on almost every car that I work on or build, or, you know, with a couple exceptions. The twin turbo Z06, I've owned it for 6 years, 7 years now. I stopped keeping track a while ago. You know, it's probably not good. But cars like this, where from the very beginning, you know, you definitely want to make sure you're not upside down on it, or you just want to know how much money you're going to make when you do go to sell it. It's great to keep track of it in, you know, an Excel spreadsheet or a notebook or a piece of paper or whiteboard somewhere. So, what do I have in my 2008 red Z06? As I mentioned earlier, I paid $15,000 for the car right off the bat. Fuel and tolls to go get it, around $200. Again, when we first got the car in the garage and upon buying it, we knew we needed basically a full long block. I got that on eBay with shipping or freight charge. It was $9,175. New intake manifold, got a great deal on that, $100. Speed engineering, long tubes and X-pipe, $560. The clutch kit I got from Rock Auto. Can't recommend Rock Auto enough for OEM parts. I've used them on many of the builds around here, including some upcoming stuff that you guys will see. The clutch kit was $450. Plugs and wires, $75. The rear sail panels, the interior sail panels that I had to replace because they had the hole in them from the harness bar, $110. The tune, the dyno tune, was $600. The Z06 badges and the black lug nuts for our new wheels, $30. The cup wheels, our beautiful cup wheels, Michelin Pilot Sports, got all that secondhand. Brand new TPMS sensors for a grand total in wheels and tires of $635. Last part or cost on this car was the paintwork. Did it with my buddy Ben. We both worked on the panels all day and into the night. He's the type of guy that probably wouldn't charge you anything. So you kind of have to take the effort to pay him. So I paid him $500. You know, we worked all day on Saturday and no one works for free. So paid him $500. That covered the cost of the paint and all our labor. So that brings our parts total to $12,435, which would bring our grand total invested in this vehicle to $27,435. But I sold a ton of parts off this thing that we didn't need or that were extra from the motor. So we'll go through those real quick. The ATI balancer that used to be on this motor, I sold that for $135. Sold the push rods for $75. I sold the other X-pipe that was on this car for $200. Sold the stock LS7 rockers for $170. I sold the cylinder heads, the LS7 cylinder heads. Even though one of them was damaged, I sold them to a guy that was going to rebuild them for $725. The crank, the LS7 crank was good. I sold it to a guy in Saudi Arabia who recently sent me a video of that, his LS7 turning like 7,500 or 8,000 RPM, so the crank was totally fine. Gave him a great deal on that, $230. OEM LS7 manifolds, $110. Sold the catalytic converters for $785, so that's a big dollar item. Sold the seat brackets from the Sparco seats that were in here for $200. Sold the WeatherTech front floor mats for $80. Sold the harness bar and trim panels as a package for $310 to a fellow C6 track enthusiast. Sold the harnesses that were on the seats for $80. Sold the Sparco seats locally. They're big, bulky, didn't want to ship those. Sold them to some local kid with a BMW for $500. There was 2 good rods. The titanium LS7 rods are worth big money on eBay. Again, gave some people a great deal on these since they were the only 2 that were still good. $120 for one of them and $160 for one of the other ones. The only thing I haven't sold yet is the stock wheels and tires, the OEM C6 Z06 Speedline wheels and tires. The tires are pretty much junk and the wheels could use a refinish, but I think I have them up for $600-ish. But just to be safe, let's say I'll sell them for $450. Anything less than that, I'll just keep them in the shed for another project. So, subtracting all of those numbers from our original parts figure of $12,435, we get a net investment of $8,180. You add that to our $15,000 initial purchase price. In total, for my 2008 clean title, 36,000 mile C6 Z06, 2LZ with a refreshed LS7, heads, cam, full exhaust, dyno tunes, cup wheels, paint corrected, coated, good to go front to back. I have $23,180 in this car, which is absurd. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. You make the money on these cars when you buy them, not when you sell them. So obviously the key to being this little into this car is the initial purchase price of $15,000. That's a fantastic deal. Anyone who doesn't agree, you're on drugs. So yeah, just over $23,000 is what I have into this car. As I mentioned in the first video, once this project is done, I have my 69 Camaro that I've got a ton of work I want to do. My twin turbo C6 Z06 right to my right here, which is needing some stuff and I want to drive it this summer. I have no time for 3 of these cars, basically. So I knew I was going to sell this. I said it in the last video. If anyone wants to buy it, let me know. Got a flood of inbox messages. Long story short, one of you guys is buying this car. It's one of my subscribers. He's really excited about the car. I'm not going to reveal exactly what he paid for it, but I will tell you it's in the mid 40s, which is a good market value for this car, and I still think a great deal for him. And it also makes me a healthy profit, which is good, and that was the whole goal here. And I can take that profit, reinvest it in the channel, reinvest it in more project cars or more parts for the other cars to keep bringing you guys content. But yeah, $23,000 for this setup here. Obviously tons and tons of labor, but I really enjoyed doing it this winter. It was an awesome winter project, and I hope you guys did too. So that is gonna wrap it up for the 2008 C6 Z06. I had a blast bringing this thing back from the dead, from buried in some guy's garage, blown up, covered in oil and dirt and dust, and now just look at it. It's ready to go. The new owner is extremely excited. He's gonna have a blast with it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this series. I've had a lot of positive feedback on this, so I'm pretty sure you have. But if you haven't already, give the video a like, subscribe, and hope to see you guys in the next one. All right, where are we going for happy hour?